So, in this video, I'm hoping that you're going to refer to it the most because this is a step-by-step or point-by-point troubleshooting video. This is for oversteer. Oversteer is when your car is turning too much for your liking. It's turning into the corner very hard and it's unsettling the rear, or you're spinning out of the rear. First off, as I talked about in another video, you are going to have a properly built car. You can't do setup with a car that's binding, not properly functioning, have loose parts, broken parts. With that out of the way, we can continue with general oversteer. We're going from the front, well, right now we are, to the tires. That's probably the first thing that people are gonna change when they experience too much steering. They will, the point of, the one of the things you can change is that you can go up in hardness or up in shore. So if you're running mediums or 20s in the front, shore 20, then you can go to a firm or 30, and that will reduce the oversteer. It's a very intrusive, it's not a very fine adjustment, it's very coarse. So I tend not to do that. I tend to mechanically set up my way out of the oversteer. One of the other things people do is reducing the servo endpoint adjustments. Well, it's called the EPA. I think I prepared something. So the EPA, or as on the KT whatever standard transmitter, KT 531P I believe, and also the other ones, this guy and this guy, and also a lot of other guys, you will have this adjustment. It's a knob on the other two, or a push dial, and it's called steering dual rate. What that does is when you turn that down, it will reduce the amount that the car can steer. So if this is full lock and you reduce it down to this, it will reduce, it will eliminate oversteer. It's not a particularly good way to do it, because if your track has big sweepers and it's perfect for that at full lock, and you have a segment of chicanes, then you're not going to make the turn. If you dial down like this, it's going to reduce the oversteer, of course, but at low speeds you might experience that you do not have enough turning radius for the small chicanes. So it's also not a very desirable way to go about it. If you have a transmitter that has expo, it's called EXP in most transmitters. It's not in a standard transmitter. You're gonna have something like a 4PX or 7PX or something like that, a FlySky, Noble, or something like that. You will have the ability to change your EXP, and this is probably gonna be a bit more for you. It's a better adjustment than this. So normally, illustrated by the straight line, this will be your steering. Straight line, turn the wheel, correlates to turning the wheels on the car. And by turning the wheels, I of course mean on the transmitter here. Turning this turns the same amount of the car. So the dotted line is when you add expo. And when you add expo, it sounds kind of intuitive. You will minus the amount. It starts at 0. So you will minus, I don't know, 20. Sorry, it's my left hand, it's not my strong hand. And you will have this. So your input is gonna be less at the start and then ramp up and eventually reach the same endpoint as you had at full lock. So this will eliminate a lot of the oversteer in corners where you experience it. You can play up and down with this number, and you will still have in the chicanes the full lock of the tires. Because if you turn down this, what you're eliminating, or what you're doing, is actually saying, okay, we're stopping here. So you don't have the full lock, and you don't have any other. You want the full lock in the chicanes, but turning this down, you will end up here. So that was a bit of a long one. The next one is going to be pretty simple. We're still talking about eliminating oversteer. So you can make the front springs harder. Check my front spring video to see what it does when you just change it to a harder one. It's going to have some effects. Everything is a compromise. So you could choose a softer T-plate. Or in general, softer rear configuration. And you could decrease the camber. And normally you will have different ride height. It's called rake. I'm gonna have another video. But if you're experiencing oversteer, you should make the car level, like the same height front to rear. If your car has camber gain, reduce that. So if you're having the arms here, the top arms here, with camber installed, reduce that to the stock configuration and put a camber knuckle instead. So yeah, that was the general elimination of oversteer. But as you see in the background, we're having the maps from the previous video, because you can experience oversteer in different parts of the corner. So if we're starting with the entry, one of the things you can do is making the car wider overall, both rear and front. You can choose either. I would do that one step at a time. So making the rear wider, still we're eliminating oversteer. Or you can make the front wider. I'm not going to go into great details about why, because you can just check my videos out why. Let's go to because you can experience, it's strange, but you can experience oversteer here. And that is due to, in the previous videos about corner, how the weight shifts. And you can experience oversteer in the mid of the corner. If you only experience in the mid of the corner, then you should only make the track width in the rear wider. And if you have the option, the wheelbase longer. And we come to the corner exit. And again, with the track width, a lot of the oversteer in the sections from around here to the exit is done by adjusting the width in the rear. So you should make it narrower in the rear, which will make more grip in the rear anyway, but at corner exits only. So and you could also combat it with having a softer spring, the center spring here. And yeah, let's talk about some other things. Sorry, I'm mumbling a bit. It's because I'm at work, as you can see. So yeah, I'm doing this and work. It's sometimes troubling to be in a meeting and also doing YouTube videos, but I manage. So also, you can have oversteer on power. It's a little more rare because you're going on power and you're, as I talked about in the weight, one of the first videos, weight transfer will remove weight from the front wheels and reduce steering that way. But if you're still experiencing on power, like you're going on the throttle, going out the corner, then, as I said, you could use a softer spring up here. And that will reduce the amount of push it gives out of the corner, and it's also therefore less likely to spin out at around this point. And you could also, it's a small thing, but try it. You could shim up. I have it in my shocks and oil video. You could shim up the rear, this part of the damper. Now the damper is quite flat, so you can shim it up like this. Not this much, but and that will give you less on-power steering. So if you're experiencing a little bit of oversteer in this part, try these things. So that was oversteer. Next video.